What is up YouTube, Jamie the Kid 00 here, coming to you guys with a brand new video. So today we're going to be going through a revised version of Invoked Dogmatika, and this version plays the Red-Eyes Dragoon combo, the hottest combo out of the new collector's tins, the big meta shift that we have seen because of this card entering the game, and it's so free to make. So without much further ado, we're going to jump into the deck profile and the tournament report, but not without a quick word from today's sponsor, and that is cardmarket.com. Today's video is sponsored by cardmarket.com. Cardmarket.com is your one-stop shop for the European TCG market. Shop from all major card games in all major languages. I use Cardmarket almost every day for my deck profile stocks and my ever-growing foreign collection. With Cardmarket, you can search in all conditions, all rarities, and all languages. Check out the link to their site in the description down below. Cardmarket is also sponsoring free giveaways on my Facebook page, so be sure to check out that page in the link below. Play hard and trade smart with cardmarket.com. Okay guys, thank you for checking out the sponsor segment, and please do check out the link in the description down below. Helps Cardmarket out and it helps support the channel, so please check that out for me before we continue with the video. So getting right into the lineup, this is fairly similar to what you're used to seeing from this list, but with a few changes, and definitely after playing this as a kind of hasty build at my locals, there are a few things I would want to change going forwards, and we'll go through that because there is really a departure that needs to be made from the very typical build that this is, and there's a few cards that I don't own that I'm tragically probably going to have to pick up. So we'll start the list off, of course, with the three obligatory Alistair the Invoker. So Alistair is still absolutely staple. You want to find as many ways to this as is physically possible because you want to open him every single game, and ideally a way to protect his search effect, because there is nothing more painful than having him stopped, believe you me. We then do play a Dogmatika component, which is of course the 3 copies of Dogmatika, Ecclesia the Virtuous, because she's absolutely unbelievable. The amount of times you can special summon this in defense next to a Mechaba, and she's so hard for people to remove because they'll probably make a board of extra deck monsters if they are going to make a push play, and so many people forget about the fact that you just can't remove her. She sticks around, and the fact that she sticks around, or she's that extra accessory monster on the field, makes it so much easier to get into your Verte Anaconda on the second turn and push your opponent in with Dragoon on your kind of the second turn that you're going to play out. So that's pretty disgusting. So continuing on, we then play the 2 copies of Dogmatika Fleur-de-Lis the Knighted. Again, I think 2 copies on this is absolutely correct. I think 1 is too few, 3 is far too many. But the blocking ability that this card puts in, and the OTK potential for the fact that this becomes 3k and the Ecclesia becomes 2k, and Mechaba is another 2/5 with an Alistair in hand, that's game. So if you can shut your opponent out very easily, if you have your full combo, so if you open Alistair and Ecclesia, or Alistair and Nadir Servant, you've basically won the game if you can stop your opponent from establishing a stable board. And of course, bearing in mind that with your recursion, you can probably just summon an Alistair anyway in your opponent's in the next turn, make, say, Dragoon, or make a I forgot the name of it, Purgatrio, and just push for game. And then the last Invoked monster I'm playing is still 1 Maximus. At my local scene, not everyone still accounts for this deck, so depending on the list I'm going in against, so if I'm playing against things like Infernoble or Dragon Link, or things like Sky Striker that openly aren't going to have the extra deck space to play the 3 cards that you really need to outplay a Maximus, this card is still very strong, and a lot of other better players at my locals are already acting on the kind of advanced meta that people are taking this out, and therefore they don't need to play the policy. So a lot of the time, this card resolves incredibly strongly for me, and of course gets me that additional 2 card advantage of an Entis pop usually, and then the resolution of 1 other card like an App Cologne or a Titaniclad. So I still really like the Maximus in my build, and that's all the monsters we're really going to be summoning as we continue on into the hand traps. So a set of hand traps which I'm growing to dislike, especially with the fall away of the Numeron package at my local scene, is the 3 copies of Gamma and the 1 Driver. Almost no one Ash Blossoms my Dear Servant, or my Magical Meltdown, or my Terraformings, or my Pots. So this almost never resolves. In fact, at this locals that I played today, I didn't resolve this once. It got ashed once, and about the 5 other times I saw this, it did not resolve. And because of some of the other hand traps that I'm now playing in the list, and the fact that I am playing more board establishment than ever before, I actually really want to take a departure from these. So they're probably going to leave the deck and turn into Ash Blossom plus a free card, because the Ash Blossom, in a lot of the situations in which I had the Gamma, would have been much stronger. So I I actually vehemently dislike this package at the moment, so it can definitely leave the list. Something I've actually been enjoying is 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, and it's the first time I've played this card in a very, very long time. Now, Ghost Ogre has some really, really cool interactions, and it just deals with so many problem cards, like Multi-Roll was a strong one for this to pick out today, Mech Knight Blue Sky was a cool hit, and there are just so many combo cards and combo decks that require monsters to stick on the field that this card can at the very least interrupt, or in a lot of other cases, outright shut down. I'm also playing this because it is a Psychic hand trap, and it does interact very, very well with the copy of emergency teleport that I'm playing in the list to give myself that little bit of acceleration into my Verte Anaconda, and it played out quite nicely. I quite enjoyed the Snow Rabbit. And coupling together with that additional monster establishment that I wanted to go for, I am also playing 3 copies of Phantasme, the Fantastical Dragon, because we are of course playing the Red-Eyes package, and I wanted a way to put some of those cards back, especially in a world in which I'm playing cards like Driver. Of course, that theory then interacted very, very poorly with the Gamma package, so I think in hindsight it's another reason for the Gammas to come out, because this does not behave very, very well with those at all. Similarly, in my side deck, which I won't be showing in the video, I did actually play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. They realistically should have been Effect Veilers because of the Phantasmes that found their way into the list, especially because I am still extra decking Selene. So there's the Phantasmes, and then there's the 2 bricks in the form of the 1 Red-Eyes Black Dragon and the 1 Dark Magician to make up our materials for the Red-Eyes fusion, or the Red-Eyes Dragoon fusion. And it's also worth noting that the Phantasmes, as they are Dragon Effect monsters, can be used for that Dragoon summon as well. So it's a really cool interaction, which may barely ever come up, but you don't have to be too afraid to discard this guy if you draw him, because if you find a Phantasme, you can still make the play that way around. So that brings me to the end of the monster lineup. It's still very, very simple. It's still Invoked, it's 3 Alistair, and then a bunch of Dogmatika cards, and then accessory hand traps to back it up, and you just have to hope that you draw a fusion of all of them. It's much like playing Dark World, or other kind of dual component decks like Monarchs. You want to see both. If you don't see both, you're going to have a hard time playing the game with one or the other, but at least each of these engines is very self-sufficient, but they become broken if you get them together. Then for the spell lineup, we are playing the 1 copy of a Red-Eyes fusion for us to send with our Verte Anaconda. We're playing 1 copy of Emergency Teleport for the aforementioned acceleration with cards like the Ogres, and of course the Gammas can come out off of it as well, but I prefer to summon the Ogres that way around, and the 1 copy of Terraforming. Those are all the one-offs that I play. Very, very simple. Then for the multiples, we play 3 copies of Magical Meltdown because we want to get to this damn thing as quickly as we can. 2 copies of Invocation because I only own the 2. This should really be a 3rd Invocation, so you could go to the 3 Ash Blossom and a 3rd Invocation when you take out your Gammas. Then these are 2 cards which stayed over because I don't have 3 Tactical Talents, or whatever it's called. I really would play it if I had it. It's absolutely necessary because if your Ecclesia or your Alistair gets shut down, these are just so good at regaining the position on the board, so you really, really want to play those as a trade-off, but I don't have them, and the pots interfere very, very heavily with, of course, the Red-Eyes engine. It would normally be a case that I would side these or the Red-Eyes engine out, but I just built the deck in 5 minutes and didn't really think about the impact they were going to have until I was actually sitting at the table and went, wow, this is actually kind of bad. So so these definitely should not be in the list by any means. I'm probably going to take one out and at least make it an Upstart Goblin, and then we'll change the other one for something that fits the bill a little bit better. Or, that could be the other Invocation if you wanted to, put another card in the Gamma slot. We then played 3 copies of Called by the Grave. It's absolutely mandatory in the list, in my opinion, so again, I don't think I would play anything other than them. And then the 3 copies of Nadir Servant, which I never seem to draw, but when you do, it is absolutely disgusting because it allows you to search out an Ecclesia and pop a card, or search in a Shadol Schism, or search another Dogmatika card with your Titaniclad. Card's dumb. Card is absolutely dumb. Love it to pieces. And then for the trap lineup, we are still playing 2 copies of Punishment and 1 copy of Schism. Punishment was a problem today. I drew it in my hand when my hands were already bad, and then if you do draw into a saving card like Alistair, etc., it just puts you so far behind. Punishment is a huge swing card. I really, really like it, but it's again one of those cards that's so strong when you're ahead, but so poor, for me at least, when I'm behind. I can use it to search out the Schism, and I can do that, but I'm still on the back backpedal somewhat if I am then going to try and re-establish an Invoked engine, and it's my Dogmatika component that has burned out. It causes a fair few problems with the way the deck meshes, and with the increased move towards Verte Anaconda and Dragoon. This hurts the deck even further, so I might just take this down to 1 as a searchable target for our Ecclesias when we've already drawn our Fleur-de-Lis, or we want to actually set up a board on the field. Those are just my thoughts, but that's definitely some of the changes I'm very much considering, and that brings me smoothly to the end of the main board. For the extra deck, this is still super self-explanatory, except for, of course, the Dragoon and the Verte Anaconda. So we are playing 1 copy of Red-Eyes Dark Dragoon. Card's disgusting. It's not quite as good as everyone expects it to be because, of course, cards like Dark Ruler No More or Gamma CL are very, very quick outs to it. So as long as you're not committing a huge amount of resources to it, I think the card is fine to play. I'm kind of making Verte Anaconda as and when I can. It's not the main focus of the deck. I've just put a few little adjustments to get me towards it, and I'm almost certain I can make that more consistent and less resource-oriented with a few other simple additions like the Trickstar package like they were playing in the OCG. So the 1 Dragoon is just a cute addition, but I don't think is in any way something that changes the main bent of the deck. It just gives it another big monster that it can push out. We then play 2 copies of Invoked Macabre and the 1 copy of Purgatrio because we need to play those for the Invoked engine. Forgotten the name of it, but the other Invoked card that was super that came out is Orgodiez. Invoked Orgodiez found its way relegated to the sideboard, so that's where it's staying at the moment. I didn't really miss it. I very, very rarely make it. In fact, it will probably find its way out of the entire list. I just had the space to put it out, so the Orgodiez left the list. Then for the Shadow component, we do play 1 copy of Apcalone, 1 copy of Construct, and 1 copy of Winder. The Construct comes up an alarming amount, and a lot of people don't play it, which is really irritating. But you often find yourself with things like Entis in the graveyard next to Apcalone, or an Ecclesia that you can just filter off of the field. And you don't, as often as you think, find yourself with a Dark Monster in the graveyard to tandem together with the Winder, and especially as I've removed the Beast from the list, the Construct becomes more and more important than ever. So I really, really like the Construct and the interactions it brings. I wouldn't take it out. I think it's an absolute staple for the extra deck. Then for the last few fusions, we play the 2 copies of Elder Entity Natis. One of these could definitely be a Agnista Wind Pegasus, but I don't have one, so Intis it is. And then the 1 copy of Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon. Again, for very self-explanatory reasons. I don't think that's a card that really needs justification in a Dogmatika list. And then for the Link Monsters, we're playing more Link Monsters than I've ever played in this variant of the deck. That's the 1 copy of Almirage, 1 copy of Secure Gardener for very, very obvious plays with Alistair. I almost want to play extra ones of like an Almirage just to get the Alistair off the field and still get a little bit of advantage, because it feels an awful shame just fusioning the Alistair off of the field when we're using him in the 2nd, 3rd occurrences. So there's definitely something we could change. The 1 Verte Anaconda for the Dragoon play, I don't really need to go through that much more. The 1 Selene, I'm still playing the Selene and the Access Code Talker as another way into the OTK, because this was something that still came up. The Halka Fibrax never came up as much as I wanted it to, if you saw that in the previous video. However, the place it does come up is when you already have something like an Ecclesia, an Alistair that you want to just get off the field, and one other card, like you get a hand trap onto the board, or you've got your Fleur-de-Lis just chilling out. You can make the Selene quite easily and make the Access Code Talker to push for more damage than you really would have found elsewhere, especially with the board clears it can give you with the amount of Xyz monsters you find yourself with, Link monsters you find yourself with in the graveyard. So that does bring me to about the end of the list. To talk about my performance at Locals today, it was a little bit frustrating. I did actually end up going 1 and 2. I ended up playing against Mech Knight, which is a surprisingly difficult deck for me to beat. It goes hard second unless you open a very, very optimal going first play. You pretty much insta-lose, and my Dragoon got outed by Kaijus, and it's a very, very difficult deck for me to remove because it very constantly makes Almirage and protects a lot of its plays. So the times when you can punishment are very, very specific, and I drew punishments, of course, without finding my way to like things like Ecclesias into my Fleur-de-Lis that would have actually been able to stop the list. So it's actually a surprisingly difficult matchup. I then managed to narrowly snatch out a win against Sky Striker, including in a game in which I got Dark Ruler No More twice. I made the full board with Mechaba Ecclesia, and Fleur-de-Lis in hand, and I got Dark Ruler No More Lightning Stormed, which was kind of horrific. And I still managed to pull out that game. But then going into round 3, I ended up losing the die roll to Info Noble Knights. They were able to go first and completely wreck me, making their full combo without me being able to stop them. Game 2, I am able to set up a board that stops them being able to play. Yeah, I actually just set up a board and he scoops immediately. He doesn't even try to play through it. And then Game 3, I had a sideboard in which I had about 15 hand traps, and I only draw impermanence. My hand ends up being Ecclesia, Meltdown, Impermanence, Alistair, and he smoke grenades me. So he talents me and he smoke grenades me. I end up drawing something irrelevant for turn. I can't remember. It was literally useless. And I end up with a hand which is basically just 3 ways to Alistair into 3 negates. So there was nothing I could do with that. So we did end up going 1 and 2, but I still felt very good about the bent of the deck and the direction of the deck. It just definitely needs some fine tuning. There was a lot of fat in here that can be trimmed, and I hope I've made that pretty clear throughout the video. But if you have enjoyed, please feel free to leave a like below. Check out the link for Card Market in the description. Again, please, big shout out to them for sponsoring the channel, supporting me. So many of the cards for this deck have come through from Card Market in the past and the present, including the new Dragoon package that you've seen in the deck. You will have noticed that it was all German, just how I like it. And if you are new here, please feel free to subscribe to the channel and share this with your friends if you think they would benefit from it. Hope you've all enjoyed. I have been Jamie the Kid 00, and I'll see you guys very, very soon with some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content. Peace out. Bye-bye.